Welcome back. You're watching On the Spot. My name is Patrick Amara and my guests tonight are Honorable Simon Lokodo and Justice Irene Muliagonja. Corruption seems to have permeated all the levels of our society, including sacred places. For heaven's sake, you're a priest at one point. I think you are still a priest.
I'm still. Painfully, I have to accept.
Also, the temples of justice. So how do you get out a problem that has gone so deep to that level?
Fine. I want first of all to correct the perception that it's cross-cutting. It has gone everywhere and everybody. Yes, it is true. Even in the religious precincts, in liturgical environments, in religious personalities, individuals have been noticed, unfortunately, succumbing to this graft. It's very painful, and I painfully say so, that there are few churches that have not given me the right image of a church of God, where the church has been reduced to an incoming generating area, where pastors go, sit, collect resources from people. I am not ashamed to tell you, my own Catholic Church, the Holy Roman Catholic Church, have been caught up in this trap. You heard of the 4 cardinals who were sent out to the Vatican for swindling millions of dollars from the Vatican, which money even reached to Kampala here, Barara, if I be specific. So it is very painful and sad to know that this has gone that far. But I still want to believe that this is not, oversweeping. There are some individuals, just as we should say, there is never a complete environment of saints. Even in a very clear saintly family, 1 or 2 children will be pervert. So I know the individuals who unfortunately have succumbed to this graft, and they are maiming, tarnishing, and actually painting black the image of the church institutions that they are representing or they are in.
Coming from a background of a situation where the law is not conducive to fight corruption, and the inspectorate of government does not have the required capacity, even though you have the intention to fight and investigate, you are our last line of defense. So what is the ingenuity you can put on the table to save the situation?
We do not have sufficient resources. We do not have optimal resources to do the work that we do.
Because it's being swindled, so?
Because, not just because it has been swindled, but because there is little to go around for everything. We can look into that and find out why not. But with what we have, we should and we commit ourselves to do the best that we can with the resources that we are given by government to fight graft, that is to use all the tools that we have been given in the Inspectorate of Government Act, in the Constitution, the Leadership Code Act, and the Anti-Corruption Act, to use all those tools that we have been given to investigate corruption, to prosecute offenders, to fight maladministration in public offices, and to investigate maladministration and ensure that public offices are run well according to the principles and the laws that are set up by government to run those offices. We commit ourselves to doing that with the resources that we have, but of course we will continue going back to government and asking for more resources to help us to do a better job.
I'm going to open the line so that you at home who is watching this transmission, you can be able to ask your questions or contribute, adding value to this discussion so that we can have a Uganda that we are all proud of. I have already a text that has come from somebody who has been watching us. He's a senior citizen, and he says, I believe your guests have impressed us fighting corruption, but they should be easily accessed in person. I've tried 3 times to meet the IGG in person to share with her my disappointment with her organization, having come from Kabarole but failed to Shabik Chris. And he said that, I don't know whether you've heard that case of a gentleman called an old citizen called Tushabe Chris was trying to access you 3 times. We have a caller online. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Yes. Good evening, sir. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Huntington. I'm calling from Kampala.
Huntington, make it precise and concise. You're on air.
A question for the Honorable Minister.
Yes.
The law that facilitates corruption in our law books called the Access to Information Act. How is the Minister using that law? How if we cannot access as the public information about, for example, the wealth of people like the Minister and other public officials, how can he really fight corruption?
Thank you. Thank you very much. Let me take another caller before the guests in the studio can respond to your questions or your comments and your contributions. I have a call online. Hello. Hello.
Yes.
Good evening, sir. What's your name and where are you calling from? I'm sorry?
Calling from Kampala.
You're on air. Go on, sir.
Kamara, your line is not there.
Go on, you're on air, sir. Okay, I'll ask my producer to drop that line. If I can give some guidance, in case your phone goes through, please make sure you turn down. Yes, Sam, you're on air.
Yeah, I have 2 questions. Even if you give millions of cities advertising media to fight corruption, and yet the society does not know how to contribute towards the fight of corruption, what that money go to waste? Anyway, can they help us also to investigate the media? Because the media would be a very important ingredient in fighting corruption, but unfortunately, at times even the way you put your questions to the media people, you don't talk corrupt. I'm sorry to use that word. Thank you.
Well, I wouldn't defend, but that's why we open the lines so that in case we're not asking the right questions, you who is watching, you can ask those questions. And that you have had your moment to shine and you have done it well. Hello?
Hello.
Yes, good evening. Your name and where are you calling from?
Good evening. Good evening, Kamara. Thanks.
Good evening, sir. You're on air, sir.
Good evening, Kamara. Thanks for hosting the Inspector General on the honorable. Mine was being the lead collector. What is the the cost was, to be honest, most of what not at the minister.
No, okay.
In any case, the majority of them are being run by the court club. Most of the time, the lawyers, the judges are not cases still pending years and years.
Okay.
And the whole
That line, I apologize, is not the best we could have gotten. So let me take the very last caller. And please stand away from your TV set when the phone has gone through, or turn down the volume of your TV set. Then it won't send an echo and the conversation will be better. Hello? No, again, you have left your volume and then we are hearing an echo in the studio. Well, or I can't take in more calls because it looks like the lines tonight are not the best. Well, there are those questions. Okay, hello.
Hello?
Yes, good evening, sir.
Hello?
Okay, let me ask my producer to cut the lines because they are not coming out through. But at least there's 3 questions that have come out that were clear. You could go for them, beginning with the Honorable Simon.
Mine was on the Access to Information Act, right?
Yes.
I want to thank the caller for following this session and above all for asking me this question. Yes, this law is a law that was meant to break through the hideouts of information that could help in discovering and eventually getting hold of the corrupt. And nobody has minimized its effects. So with this law, you are as a responsible citizen. You know, there is the famous slogan of the chief administrative officers, especially. They say, eyes on, but hands off. That with that law does not exist anymore. What can be seen should be touchable. All right? So everybody is protected by this law, and you can have access to any information that you need. Now, his method of declaring information everywhere, of course, we also have another responsibility as to those who receive this information. For example, IGG receives declaration from leaders. Now, when leaders declare this, we should know what information is good for public consumption and what can be requested for the good purpose, and it should be for the good of this nation. Because someone may pick this information and use it for maybe maiming the life of somebody else. So there are also restrictions in enjoying the privileges of this act. Yes, you can get the information, but what do you want this information for? So IGG has the discretion to disclose to you some information, and depending on the satisfaction that she or her staff gets, the information will be available to you. Really, no one should hide behind this. Access to information. You, I don't know, citizen, you're suspecting Lokoro has more resources than ever. Go and see what he has declared and go and see if it is commensurate with what is on the ground. This is not a mortal sin, and nobody is going to curtail your freedom in that sense.
Okay. Justice Irene.
About the access to information, the aspect of information most complained about is the information that we receive in the declaration forms that are filed with the Inspectorate of Government by leaders in Uganda. There is the debate as to whether we should open up fully, and like one politician said, leave everybody naked so that everybody knows what everybody in a public office owns and how they acquired it, or we should have the limitations that we have right now, because the Inspector General of Government can decide either to release part of the information in the form, but not the whole of it, because there's a specific provision of the Leadership Code Act and also of the Constitution that limits how much we can expose to the public in those declarations. So those are the limitations. If there's a law that is made that allows us to expose everything that is declared to us, we will have no objection to exposing everything. But for as long as there are those limitations that are put in place by the Constitution and the Leadership Code Act, our hands are tied. We have to follow the law, since it's also our mandate to ensure strict adherence to the rule of law and principles of natural justice. So that is where we stand on declarations. There is a gentleman who called asking about or complaining about inaccessibility of the Inspector General of Government. He says he has some information that he wants to disclose to me as Inspector General of Government. Now, there are several ways that he can access my office. He can either access the office in his region by going to that office and talking to the officers there and giving them this information, which he feels is important information that I should have. Failing that, he can write to the Inspector General of Government, post to P.O. Box 1682 Kampala, or he can also
this gentleman actually says that even she took the letter personally to the office about a year ago. His name is Chris Tushabe, and that there was no reply.
I do not think that he brought a letter that has not been responded to. He says I think this is what I heard him say. He has come to the
Endeavored.
Inspectorate of
Yes,
Government
yeah, but I'm talking about,
and
I'm talking
tried
about,
to
yes,
get to
you-
see the
he has
Inspector
since-
General
he has
of
since posted,
Government.
he has since
but he
posted
has
another
failed.
comment, another issue. He
Mm.
has added that I even took the letter personal about a year ago, but she never replied. And
Okay.
and if it's a Christo server that I know, he's a senior citizen whom I suppose could not be telling a lie.
It depends on what he was talking about, because there are those senior citizens who come back to the Inspectorate of Government when a matter has already been disposed of by the Inspectorate. But they insist, because there's a new Inspector General of Government, that new Inspector General of Government should also go through the same matter again. However, I do not recall seeing any letter from Chris to Shabe. Neither do I recall receiving a
Fine,
note
you
to
assure him that you will check
Close
your
to-
desk.
to-
If that
to-
letter is
to
there,
share
you will read and give a
but
due
you
response.
see, there are so many letters that come to the Inspectorate of Government. I cannot go and start digging for one particular letter which was received more than how many years ago does he
He
say?
says it's only 1 year ago.
1 year
Yeah,
ago.
yes.
1 year ago. I do not recall a Chris to Shabe,
Okay.
but he can send the letter again, and definitely if it gets to me, I will respond to him. Then another caller talked about the public and the fight against corruption. How can that, and he commented and said, even if I'm given billions of shillings to fight corruption, for as long as the general public does not know what to do to help in the fight against corruption, it will be money poured down the drain. The general public can help, and we do rely on the general public in our fight against corruption. We invite complaints about where you have seen corrupt practices, about where you have seen malpractices in public offices, and we shall respond to your complaints. That is one of the ways that is most common. But most importantly, we call upon the public to demand for accountability from their leaders. First of all, from the political leaders. They come to you when they are asking for votes to go into these political offices. Please ask them to explain what they have done for you since they went to parliament or since they went to the local government councils. They should be able to explain to you. And if they are not able to, then you have the mandate not to return them into the public office that they hold. And about government programs, the general public are our eyes on the ground. They are the eyes of government on the ground. So they should follow up on government programs that are going on in their areas, and where things are not going right, report to the Inspectorate of Government. If it is graft or bribery or demand for demands in return for availing services to you, you should report these instances to either the Inspectorate of Government or the Uganda Police, and you will be sure to get better services if you persist in reporting. Because what happens in most instances is that if a person makes a complaint and nothing is done, they will keep quiet and never make that complaint again. I think we owe it to ourselves as Ugandans to continue demanding for accountability from our leaders, demanding for accountability from public offices where we're supposed to access services as citizens of Uganda.
Okay, our time is almost out, so I'm going to ask Honorable Simon Lekodo to give us your parting shot and your concluding remarks on the show tonight.
Good. Fellow citizens, corruption is a reality and it's a fact. It is around our precinct. Now, I want to assure you that government has put it all and it works around the clock to ensure that this graft is thrown out of our boundaries. The establishments which are in place, the legal framework, plus all the policies that are in place are only a signal that it is intolerance on the part of government to see corruption around. Now, why is corruption probably looking like it is becoming, more rampant than anything? I want people to look at it this way, that there is a lot of noise of corruption now, thanks to the sensitization that has been taking place and the good job of the agencies, government agencies, which have been performing effectively and perfectly in spite of their limitations. The limitation of human resources.
And the civil society as well.
I'm going there also. I do welcome, of course, the participation of the civil society and other entities. But what I want to urge this citizenry is to refer to Article 17(1)(I) of the Constitution, which states a duty of every citizen, a duty of a patriotic citizen, is to combat corruption and fight against misuse of public resources. When we live in apathy, when we watch things happen and say nothing about it, when we participate and get caught up in the syndicate of corruption, we are not patriotic, we don't love our country, and therefore we say let us put a concerted effort to expose, to denounce, and give it to the government institutions to handle further issues related to that. Let me say something. We are in the anti-corruption week, and this is an opportunity for the entire citizens of Uganda to join the international community to meditate on this subject of corruption. We should feel that corruption is bad, it is destructive, it is depriving us of our human dignity and blocking the development of this country.
Thank you.
The way to go is to
Justice Irene Muliagonja, very briefly, your parting shot tonight.
Yeah, my parting shot is to continue calling upon the citizens of Uganda to join the fight against corruption. Not to just sit and not to just send us complaints, because when you send complaints to the Inspectorate of Government, we investigate. When we call upon people to give us evidence in the investigations and also to come to the courts to testify against the culprits that we take to the courts, please do join us. Please do participate in these proceedings in court by giving evidence and stand firm, because there are those who are threatened that because you have reported and the case is going to court, someone comes to you and says, if you dare come to court and testify against me, you will see what will happen to you. There is a minimum, though we do not have much in terms of resources for protecting witnesses, where witnesses have come to us and complained and said, I'm experiencing a threatening situation, we have been able to get them by the hand and offer some protection.
Thank you, Justice Irene Muliagonja and Honorable Simon Lokodo, for the discussion. I'm sure you've added value to our discussion tonight, and Ugandans are much better off tonight for having listened to you. But it appears that the issue of corruption has permeated all sectors of society.